was the most interesting thing I could do with my life. And one thing led to another, and eventually I did become an astronaut. But that was not my original plan, but it was my inspiration. Over. Hey, Nicholas. So first off, astronauts all have a career before they're astronauts. So if you want, everything you do in your life before that is part of your training. I was myself an astronomer and then a medical doctor. But the actual astronaut training we do around the world. Most of it we do in Houston, Texas. That's where, at NASA, that's where we learn about the space station. That's where we learn about the experiments we're going to do. We learn to use our space suits. We learn to use Canadarm, that one, the robotic arm we learn in Montreal in Canada. Then we have to spend a lot of time in Russia after having learning to speak Russian to learn how to fly the Soyuz rocket. And then we also spend some time training in Japan because there's a Japanese part of space station, and in Europe because there's a European part of space station. Over. So the food we eat is like camping food. It's dehydrated food. I was actually very lucky. I could get some family food sent to me. So food that's a recipe of my family that my wife made for our camping food. It's dehydrated chili. So that's great. Also we have food from different countries so we can share between the Russian food, the American food, Canadian, Italian, European, French, Japanese. So that's great. As for the times when we live on GMT, the time of London, that's an arbitrary decision. It's halfway between Houston time and Moscow time. So we eat our meals based on that time. So now here on board, it's about 9 a.m. I've had breakfast a couple hours ago, and I'll have lunch in a few hours. Over. Hey, Evan. We don't have a lot of spare time, actually, but we do have some. And my favorite thing to do is to look out the window at beautiful planet Earth. I also spend quite a lot of time on the phone, calling my wife, my children, and my friends, and my family members. So, and then, you know, we spend a lot of time talking to each other, and mostly just living up here. It's like, it's rare, the free time is rare, so we actually don't get bored at all. Over. That's a good question, Molly. I was worried about that, but actually, you know what? It does not, because there's 6 of us up here, and 6 is enough to never be alone. And so I was surprised by that, but that is the fact. And also, we spend a lot of time interacting with the ground, either with mission control people or with our family and friends. So surprisingly, perhaps, this is not a lonely place at all. We feel like we have contact with the whole world. Over. Hi, Katina. So exercise is actually very important for astronauts. We spend 2 hours a day exercising to keep our bones and muscles strong, because otherwise they will just dither away. So we have a treadmill so we can run on and remember how to walk when we come back to Earth, basically. For that we use bungees that cinches down to the platform. Then we have a stationary bicycle that looks just like one on Earth, except it doesn't have a seat. And then we have a big contraption to do other muscle loading and bodybuilding, if you want, to keep your back, your arms strong. And that doesn't use weights, but it uses the resistance of distance. So that's how we can basically stay pretty strong. And people come back from space and, you know, they can stand up and walk and carry things. My dream is to go back home and be able to carry my children on my shoulders. Over. Yes, parts do wear out. In environmental space, it's very difficult for machinery because of ultraviolet radiation, because of micrometeorite hits. So some of the elements of station are almost 20 years old, and so a lot of parts have had to be changed over time. Batteries, pumps, machinery, especially everything that is outside the space station. But even things inside, like parts of the life support system, they wear out and they have to be changed. So this we are constantly the station and constantly maintaining the mission, keeps us alive and keeps us. research on behalf of scientists from around the world. A lot of the research is in the field of medicine, for example, or biological sciences, because the environment of space is basically very bad for human beings, and the ways in which it affects astronauts really resemble disease that we have on Earth. So by helping astronauts stay fit and strong and cure their disease, we can very quickly develop cures for disease that affect everybody on Earth. Over. Hey, Carlos. So space worms are very interesting kind of theoretical beasts that come from very modern physics. I have never seen one. I guess if we could master the power of worms, we could master, space-time travel. That's been the subject of many, many science fiction movies and books. But who knows? Sometimes science fiction is just a precursor of reality. Over. Hey, Lawson. Well, at the speed that we go, we're going about 8 kilometers every second. It takes us an hour and a half to go around the world. So that means that 16 times a day we see the sunrise and we see the sunset. So when I look out the window right now, I'm somewhere over Europe, and in about half an hour I'll be over Australia, and in about an hour and a half I'll be back almost over the same spot, except the Earth will have rotated in an hour and a half.